Piers, Piers, Gaza would be much better without Palestinians. Gaza is Israel's doorstep. Here we go. Let's watch his interview with this woman.
Can all this go on? Well, I'm joined by Israeli Ambassador to the UK, Tzipi Hotovely. Ambassador, welcome back to Uncensored.
Good evening, Piers.
Incredibly damning comments from two former prime ministers of Israel and a former deputy chief of staff of the Israeli army. When you hear...
Oh, yeah. Ehud Olmer says that the country's committing war crimes. Oh, no, he's so anti-Semitic. He said Israel's committing war crimes.
What they have to say, surely it gives you pause for thought, doesn't it?
Well, it's quite obvious for someone like you that understands politics that those people are coming from the opposition. Their job, in their opinion, is to fight whatever the government is doing. I think it's very anti-patriotic not to support Israel's war when we are fighting the most justified war in the world against a terror group committed the worst atrocities at the 7th of October. Just today, we remember 600 days that we still have 58 hostages.
Listening to someone like this makes me understand why there is an appetite for grifters like Ahmed Al-Khatib. Like, At least he says that he's pro-Palestinian. Maybe he can get invited onto this Piers Morgan show.
Captivity. And I'm afraid to say, nowadays in Israel, you can't find even...
Like, you have either straight up that are like, oh no, we're fighting the most just war, it's unpatriotic if you criticize us, and Hamas is like just subhuman animals that must be eradicated from the face of the earth. And then you have little worms like Ethan Klein and Ahmed Al-Khatib, where they're like, oh no, like I think what Israel's doing is bad, but it's actually the fault of the Arabs that Israel's killing. Like you have those two groups that are defending Israel now.
One leader that will say he's willing to live with Hamas on its doorstep. So if those people have any criticism, they should offer a plan how Hamas will be removed from the Gaza Strip, from controlling the doorstep of Israel, not committing the 7th of October again. I didn't...
Oh, the Gaza Strip is the doorstep of Israel. Holy... She can't even like pretend like she wants a two-state solution. It's the doorstep of Israel. Israel basically owns it. Wow. I haven't really heard that before. Gaza is the doorstep of Israel. That's crazy. I mean, once again, this is what Ethan Klein is advocating for. Deep down, he knows that a two-state solution will only lead to Israel, if there are Palestinians left in Gaza, utilizing like concentration camp-like conditions to completely control Gaza, make it completely docile to them, and take away any kind of independence. And he also probably knows that like the solution is going to be the final solution, the complete ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip.
To hear that not from European leaders that are criticizing Israel, and not from those opposition former leaders. So I must say that in the end of the day, Israel has a serious threat on its security. You will agree with that. No one
you will agree with that. She's doing Jedi mind tricks.
Like we've seen at the 7th of October. And in order to do that, the aims of the war are still relevant. We want to bring back our hostages, and we want to make sure Hamas won't control the Gaza Strip. Every leader in the world, in the Western world, agrees on those two aims.
You and I have spoken regularly, or on a number of occasions.
You will agree that this is the most moral army.
Israel had an absolute right and indeed duty to its people to defend itself after those appalling attacks, and my position about that hasn't changed. But I also kept asking one question, which was, what is a proportionate response? And I've got to tell you that in the last few weeks, I have found the Israeli government strategy in Gaza to be utterly disproportionate. And I'll explain to you why. When you launch a blockade for nearly 3 months...
Proportionate? What is this proportionate?
Much of their possessions, their land, their buildings, their homes decimated by bombardment after bombardment. When you say that you're going to launch a blockade on aid and food to a population where 50% are under 18, you are pursuing, it seems to me, as Ehud Olmert said, a policy of starvation towards, obviously, because of the nature of the population in Gaza, of a lot of children.
There is no Gaza without Hamas. There is no Palestinians without Hamas.
I mean, what else do you call it?
Actually, I guess she has like a British accent.
At the facts, and you should look at the facts. Letting in 25,000 trucks with tons of aid this is not a policy of starvation.
We've
Now, let me
left
tell you
in
what was Israel's policy
25,000
from the beginning of
trucks.
the war. From the beginning of the war, we created a very clear distinction between the terrorists. We're talking about
No, you
50,000
no,
people
you didn't.
that invaded themselves in population, as you know. Just now, you just mentioned Mohammed Sinwar. He was found under a hospital, under the European hospital. He was hiding there because he knows exactly how the world reacts when Israel attacks hospitals. But those hospitals are being abused and being used as a terror facilities. This is why Israel is allowed to operate there. Now, I'm going back to the policy of aid. In the last few days, as you know, Israel is launching a new program, a new mechanism to deliver aid because, unfortunately, and I'm saying that with a big pain, Hamas
Should go 11 weeks without eating. Go ahead. Go 11 weeks without eating, and then we'll give you like a few crumbs. We'll dribble it on your face.
was looting the aid that all the world wanted to be let into Gaza. Now, everyone is interested that the population won't be starving. We don't want to see pictures of children that don't have something to eat. We all share the same interest, but at the same time,
Bro, she can't even say we don't want them to starve. She's like, we don't want to see pictures of children that have nothing to eat. Yeah, that's why you ban journalists and you criticize any kind of journalistic outlet that posts videos and images coming out of Gaza.
if Hamas is looting the aid,
Hamas.
then we are empowering the war machine. And according to the
What war machine? What war machine is Hamas doing? What? The war machine of making like prosthetic limbs for children? Is that what you're empowering?
the world has obligation to feed the war machine of the enemy. And this is what happened in the last few months. This is why Israel had to change the mechanism. This is why American companies are involved. So we'll have a buffer. We won't have to see Israeli soldiers combating Hamas while they're trying to loot the aid. The whole procedure is much more effective.
Why do you have Israeli soldiers in Gaza in the first place?
Putting barriers for the population not to receive this aid. This is the same Hamas that uses.
This is the same Hamas?
So we are talking about situation is very difficult, very complicated.
No, it's not. Bro, immediately doing the Ethan Klein line. We're talking about situation, very difficult, very complicated. No, what? It's not. It's so complicated that it's solved by just letting the Palestinians get food. Oh my God, it's so complicated. Very difficult, very complicated.
We still want aid to get in. And the mechanism, I believe, that Israel is putting now forward is so much better than the one that, at the end of the day, is empowering Hamas.
She's saying this the day after it got completely raided because they couldn't handle the amount of hungry people that were trying to get through. And then they killed like 16 Palestinians just from shooting into the crowds. What the You think this is better than just letting aid trucks go in and distribute aid using aid distribution centers that have already been set up? I mean, the only reason you wanted to do this in the first place is to ethnically cleanse Gaza of all Palestinians.
The problem is that whilst you're saying all this and trying to justify it, you've got people like Smodrich coming out and making it absolutely crystal clear what the real plan is, which is to completely clean out Gaza of all the Palestinians.
Thank you, Piers.
Third country. That is...
Piers unironically doing better journalism than the BBC did.
Is the deliberate targeting of people based on ethnicity and displacing them from their homes and killing a lot of them in the process. I don't know what else you would call it. I've resisted using the word about this, but when I watched what Mr. Smodrich was saying and studied the exact words that he said, it is very hard to reach any other conclusion than...
Piers, Mr. Smodrich is speaking metaphorically. He means Hamas. We starve Hamas.
That he is waging a strategy of and would like to cleanse, as he put it, the whole Gaza Strip of all the Palestinians. So you can try and dress up that blockade, which is what it was for 3 months, where we saw the starving children you say you're concerned about, but you've got Smodrich there actually laying bare the real plan, which is to get all the Palestinians out of Gaza. And that is a form of, isn't it?
Piers, you don't understand. Smodrich, he was not speaking in English. That was for Israeli ears only, Piers.
What else do you call it?
Well, let's begin with the fact that if you listen to the British media, you get the assumption that Smotrich is the Israeli prime minister. Well, he's not. He's not the one who's running the policy on aid. And the policy you just quoted is actually...
So is he a liar?
No, all I'm saying is that his policy, his statements are not standing in one line with Israel's policy. This is, as a matter of fact.
His statements are not standing in line with Israeli policy? Would you care to explain where they differ? Would you care to explain where they differ?
Going back to what you quoted basically President Trump's plan. And President Trump's plan is speaking about making Gaza a better place. Gaza will be a better place without having a terror hub.
Piers, Piers, Gaza would be much better without Palestinians. Gaza is Israel's doorstep.
Without having the underground tunnel city, without having people firing on Israeli
Underground
cities.
tunnel city.
There were more rockets being fired from Gaza to Ashkelon, to some Israeli southern cities. We are not interested with any of that. And I just want to remind you, just in case you're so interested with finishing the war can finish today. If Hamas will surrender, if Hamas will make sure that no weapons in Gaza, if we'll see demilitarization.
Israel just shot up Palestinians that you explicitly said Hamas didn't exist in. I mean, this is just a lie. It's just a lie.
Of the Gaza Strip, and if our hostages are back home, the war will be ending today. I mean, just imagine that.
All right, but let me ask you though. But you accept that Israel has the strongest military in the Middle East, right? I am the proud owner of 2 cats, which are named.
The fuck is this? An ad break?
Population that's been hit by a terror organization. We're a small country. We're a small country that its border being invaded.
Fine. I just asked you a question.
Hey, you graduated. Congratulations.
You do.
We do, but at the same time, we're a very vulnerable country when we are surrounded by radical Islamists, including backed up by Iran.
I'm not here to defend.
Oh my God, bro, we're running the full gamut today of Israeli propaganda. What the? We're surrounded. We're a very vulnerable country surrounded by radical Islamists.
Defend that. I'm not here to defend Hamas, or I think a despicable terror organization. But you said there were 50,000 Hamas. Others have put the total figure at around 25,000, which begs the question, if after 18, 19 months now, you have been waging this ferocious war against 25, 26,000 terrorists, and you still haven't defeated them, you still can't get your hostages released, they're still not being released.
I mean, this is just good, and this is good propaganda to use against fascists by basically saying that they're completely inept. Oh, so you say that you're a very powerful army, right? Yes, but we're also weak because we're surrounded by Islamist terrorists. Okay, but there's only 25,000 Islamist terrorists in Gaza, and you guys haven't done that? You haven't finished the job in a year and a half? What's wrong with you? How come you haven't done that yet?
It's clear to most people that your strategy is failing. But what you're doing is ramping up the attacks, ramping up the devastation, ramping up the clearing out of Gaza. You've got members of the cabinet openly saying they want to get rid of all the Palestinians and get them into another country. So it seems to everybody else that what you're actually doing is not winning any war against Hamas. In fact, many people think that the intelligence...
Just like a caption underneath her face, formulating next Hasbara response.
That the Americans have received for every Hamas terrorist you killed, they've already been replaced multiple times with people with the same ideology. And that would explain why you can't get the hostages out. And in fact, the hostages, the more you bombard Gaza, the more you would say that their own lives become imperiled. And the overriding picture, which is what's getting Israel so much opprobrium around the world, is that your strategy isn't working. There's no clear plan for what happens at the end of all this. Hamas is still clearly alive and well and thriving. Yes, you've killed another one of their leaders today, but you killed his brother, who was the architect of October the 7th months ago, and that didn't seem to make any difference to Hamas's ability to continue engaging in battle with you. And the argument remains, how many Palestinian civilian innocent lives, women...
Piers, maybe if I tilt my head and get the right angle, I can pick up reception from Tel Aviv to get to next Hasbara talking point.
Children, are you prepared to kill as you continue going after Hamas when it doesn't appear that you're winning that battle, that strategy is failing?
Piers, how many Japanese children were killed under American attacks, and how many German children were killed under UK attacks in the Second World War? Listen, I mean...
Piers, we have not nuked Gaza. We would, but we can't because it's Israel's doorstep. So we have not nuked them. We have shown restraint, Piers. What the? Oh my God, dude. Immediately comes in at we have a right to nuke Palestine. We need to... That's not a defense. What are you doing? That's not a defense of the claim that you're ethnically cleansing the region and you're doing indiscriminate bombing. You're like, we're not doing indiscriminate bombing. We're actually we just want to nuke them.
If you want to play a fair game, you need to understand how Western armies operated in the past. Israel is not anywhere near to the American attacks.
Western army.
100,000 civilians, and not anywhere near to what the UK was doing in the Second World War. Now, when I'm looking about a strategy, I get to hear all the...
You're comparing it to a world war. It's the densest region in the world. And you're comparing the civilian casualties that you're inflicting to get 50 hostages out. I think it was a couple hundred hostages immediately after October 7th. You're comparing that to a world war. on the raw number, not to mention the percentages, which is off the charts, but raw number. She's comparing the raw numbers of deaths to world wars. How?
People criticize Israel today, including yourself. And then I'm asking you this question. If Israel finishes the war today and Hamas stays on our doorstep, what kind of future do you promise my children? A future that 7th of October will happen again and again,
God.
just like Hamas leaders promise? This is what you expect the Israelis or the Israeli leadership to accept?
Hamas should not be allowed to run a Welk stall at the end of all this. They should
So
have
how do you achieve
Yeah, neither should Israel.
that? How do you achieve that?
Well,
Who's volunteering there to demilitarize the Gaza Strip?
She's basically just advocating for genocide. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna go. But guys, consider signing up for memberships. It helps me out, helps my editors out. Only $1 a month, so it's really not a big deal. Your name can be green. That will be cool. And thanks for watching, everyone.